Hey everybody, welcome back to another film of the week. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. Running out the late night, what do you call it? What do they call it? A milk run? I think that's what they would call it. But I'm not actually getting milk. I'm just getting some stuff for my family. But we're back once again with another film of the week, and this one's gonna be pretty different because we've talked pretty ill about this genre on my channel, so I figured to shed more of a positive light to said genre, I figured to discuss a superhero film. And within this genre there are really a select few that I would be interested in really discussing. But the one that I usually gravitate to the most, which is the one that we're about to talk about right now, is Logan, which was, I believe, co-written, written in some capacity, co-written and directed by James Mangold, who previously would have directed films like 310 to Yuma, as well as The Wolverine, the other Wolverine film before this one. And then we'll go on to do Ford v Ferrari, as well as the latest Indiana Jones film, which was probably the weakest of the Indiana Jones films in my particular opinion. But focusing on Logan proper though, starring Hugh Jackman once again as Logan, aka Wolverine, set in the future, and he's a lot older now, or a little more, or not older, but losing a lot of his powers, and is now more weathered, more depressed, more grumpy, and more angry. And he's taking care of Charles Xavier, played by, once again, Patrick Stewart, who is fallen to very ill, getting multiple seizures. Those seizures cause like great big episodes that affect everybody around him. Puts everyone in like a state of paralysis for a couple of seconds. And this little girl, played by Daphne King, shows up in the picture. And what's established early on is that, you know, Charles is like kind of hearing someone, is potentially hearing that of another mutant. Mutants are not have not been a thing for like 25 years or so. And what occurs is that Daphne King's character, Laura, ends up with Logan and Charles, and become involved within her situation, and now take it upon themselves to get her to a specific location to where she may be safe from forces that are trying to hunt her, and now them down. So with this film, there's an interesting history that comes with it, because notable thing about Logan is that it is a rated R film, and at the time of when Logan was released, R-rated content within the superhero genre was kind of a mystery, kind of a whisper here and there, Deadpool being kind of the big splash of that. Prior to that, there were films that did dip their toes within such a rating, with Blade and I forget what the other films were, but there were films prior to Deadpool that did splash within the rating. But Deadpool was really the one that really just made the mark and really gave studios the confidence to try to produce more edgier like content. Hence why something like Logan gets greenlit. But the reason why Logan is very interesting, though, is by design what Logan is. Because when you see conceptually what Logan is, like, to an executive, I just wonder, the kind of like confidence, because they want like safer bets, so you would think that they would try to do something more cinematic and spectacle oriented, versus what Logan is, which is a lot more restrained, character driven, and completely resonant, which is something that has been very absent in a ton of these films, and a ton of this genre, to be blunt about it. And thankfully they had the confidence in this particular idea, because I think that what you get from Logan is the strongest that this genre has ever offered. I know people like to say that the Dark Knight is considered like the best, of the genre, but Dark Knight for me, I like, but I'm not as big on or I don't really revisit that film as much as I do Logan, because Logan carries a weight, a emotion, a depth, a certain a certain amount of just of authenticity, specifically from its performances, which I think are also standouts of this genre. Hugh Jackman specifically in this film, I think, is terrific. And Patrick Stewart, of course, being just a delight. Daphne King being one of those rare childlike stars that just does really, really well. Because, child stars usually get a bad rap. But it did something just extremely unique for the genre, and to this day it has done something very unique for this genre, because it seems as though the genre is very content with just being a certain way, a certain formula, and Logan decides to break that mold with something like this, which is much more isolated, much more restrained, much more contained, and what you get from it is something that has a lot more, in terms of how you feel when watching it, more weight, more a sense of realism, a sense of relation, because the hard thing about conceptualizing, creating these sort of big blockbuster like spectacles is having that humanity instilled into the characters, because it's hard to sometimes relate to those like big characters like Superman, Batman, and what have you. It's fun to look at, but it can be hard at times to sometimes relate to those like godlike beings. And Wolverine, obviously, in just essence what he certainly is in that league, but the representation of that character is less to do with the comic book and more to do with just the dissection of a character, specifically in commenting on violence, on age, on what it means to do the right thing, the morality, within doing the right thing. Like it tackles it tackles interesting ideas in a way that is melancholy, but appropriately so. So I think the performances are great. I really love the setting. This, like I said, is very melancholy, depressive like atmosphere, yet very tender, very involving. The structure of it, again, just kind of gets you more and more involved in the drama. The drama itself is very interesting. It's not just mellow type drama. It feels earnest. It feels weightful. It's just something that isn't really concerned with being the definition of its genre, and more concerned with being just a great piece of storytelling. And for Logan's case, it certainly is. It's the best that this genre has ever offered. Like, of all the superhero films I've ever seen, Logan is the one that I think about the most because of how I felt watching it. I teared up at the end. Probably a lot of people did, but for different reasons. I don't tear up at that scene because of the legacy of that specific character. I tear up at that scene because of the journey that we had to that point, because it was all earnest and it felt, like one of my favorite scenes in the film has no dialogue that plays, which is when Daphne King offers, when Laura, offers Logan to drive the vehicle, and when Logan passes out, that little scene of her just like looking at him and then eventually taking it on herself to drive the vehicle. Little moments like that give the relationships more meat, and are not just just trying to go along, next action beat, next exposition, blah blah blah. Like, the only thing that I will say to the film that's a little bit of a quibble for me is that there's some of the metaphors, some some elements at play do feel a bit just to fill that definition within superhero. The clone, I feel like, was kind of unnecessary. We didn't need to have him fighting a clone. I get the metaphor. I mean, it's kind of a literal metaphor. Um, I perhaps would have liked a different angle in that sort of regard, but and the whole meta sort of weird element with like the comic books that he reads, because the X-Men comic books exist within the world of Logan, and they somehow like feed into the plot somehow, or somehow like give the characters like a certain thing to get the story moving. A little convoluted, um, but beyond just some quibbles, metaphorically speaking, and how they utilize certain metaphors, it's really good. It's a really good piece that decides to distance itself quite a bit from what we know about superheroes and go for something much more grounded, much more, um, much more bearing a sense of realism. Strong performances all around. Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart are great in this. The little girl is great, um, and it's frustrating to know that this wasn't the end. Originally, it was the end for Hugh Jackman's character, and it's a great end for the character. I mean, not just like not just emotionally, but also just narratively speaking, for Hugh Jackman, for that character. It's great. It's a great place to end it, and it's just a nice, like, just as an individual story. There's no really a need to explore that character again, in any regard. It's just a great place to let it rest. Unfortunately, money talks, so we're seeing him again in Deadpool and Wolverine, and I think that's very, very unfortunate. And they say that's not going to botch this. It's not going to botch the legacy of Logan. Kind of already has. I mean, the fact that you exist in this movie kind of already degrades some of the importance that film had. But still, Logan is a rare achievement in this genre, and will probably still be a rare achievement because of just how the genre has formed since then. I mean, we had something like Joker, but Joker has its issues and is conceptually and structurally a bit of a mess. Logan is just that rare, solid craftsmanship that makes its distinction and creates that distance that is all well intended and benefits greatly for the storytelling, for the characters, for the performances. The fact that it doesn't really mention much of the X-Men or care too much with the X-Men, and just does its own thing. It's great, and I want more stories like that, more individual storytelling. But doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. So, but really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed Logan, and still enjoyed Logan. When I revisited a few scenes, and still it's good. It's a nice, like, has a little Western motif, and I enjoy it. I'm very, very won over by it, and it's one of those films that, because I know that I can sometimes be a bit harsh on the genre, and I don't hate the genre. I don't. Films like Logan show me that there have been bright spots, and it's not always the same formulas every time. But there is also a sadness in thinking of Logan, because that was in 2017, and we've yet to have a film like Logan ever again. So, and perhaps it's for the best, because it just makes Logan even more special. So yeah, so those are my thoughts on Logan. I thought it was pretty good. I really found myself in great company with the characters and the drama and the overall just presentation of its themes, and overall presentation, generally speaking. Aesthetically, it looks nice. It's just solidly made, and it wins me over emotionally, which is something that I have rarely or even never have said when it comes to superheroes. So And that's why, for me, it hits to me much more than any other film in this genre, and why it's the best. So those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on Logan if you guys have seen it. I believe, is it the highest grossing R-rated film, or is it still Deadpool? I forget, but it made a ton of money when it came out, so I know a lot of you have seen it. So let me know your thoughts on Logan in the comment section below. And that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in, and until then, I will catch you guys in the next video.